What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind-the-scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. A viewer requested a video about financial self-sabotage, which came out of nowhere and is entirely outside my wheelhouse, but, well, we're not 30 seconds in yet, so let's just wait a few more seconds, and there we go. Fuck it. I'll talk about it, but with some disclaimers. First and foremost, I'm not the person you should be asking about this. I'm not financially self-sabotaged, but I am just barely treading water. Two, I don't vouch for anything I'm about to say, any of these points. And three, I'm going to use this video to talk about some other things. Because I realized the way you manage money, or the rules you set for yourself in managing money, at least in my experience, tend to come from lessons learned the hard way. And aside from a game review I want to do in the next few days, I don't know what I'm even supposed to be talking about right now. I'm still out of it from that surprise vacation. My brain is scrambled. So we are going to talk just about whatever. And these points are in no particular order. So the first one, use two banks, a checking account and a savings account at each. With your primary bank, you do whatever, however you're managing your money right now. At your second bank, you keep $200 to $500 in your checking at all times, and you put a percentage, whatever percentage you're comfortable with, of each paycheck into your savings. And you do that so ending up shit creek without a paddle, with some kind of bank issue with your primary bank unable to be resolved, you aren't, or it's harder for you to end up in that situation. It's always good to have a secondary emergency debit card. And then with the savings, as long as it's in the secondary bank that you aren't doing anything with other than putting shit into it most of the time, it's harder for you to feel compelled to tap into it. And you need a safety, a safety net, nest egg, emergency fund. This was years ago, but I had one bank account, well, not one bank account, but I put all my money into my checking. And, of course, my debit card gets shifted or swifted, whatever it's called. Someone steals your card information. And this dude spends $400 at a fried chicken restaurant, and then $200-something at a liquor store. And it took me days to get this sorted. And the entire time I'm sitting there thinking, looking this over, wondering why a little Chinese kid would do this to me. And this sounds like a medium-length race joke. This actually happened. $400 of chicken and $200-something of liquor. The second point is find as many ways to earn money as you can. And actually, we'll wrap up point 13 into this too. You should be trading your time for your money. Even if at the beginning the exchange rate is terrible. If you aren't turning your time into money, even with that terrible exchange rate, you're pissing it into the void. I don't make a ton of money from the non-career shit I do, but I wouldn't be building, or I wouldn't have the money to start building an emergency fund without it. Everything is valuable. And frankly, if you're watching this video as anything other than a goof or something to listen to while you're gaming or driving or staring at the wall at your job or something, you are not someone whose time is so valuable you should be paying to protect it. You aren't genius entrepreneur person. You are Joe Dipshit. I am Joe Dipshit. Your time, if you don't make your time valuable, then it has no value. You have time, make it worth something. Okay, point three. I think overspending mainly comes from fear and insecurity about your financial situation. I think people buy shit they don't need and waste money because they're afraid they can't afford to buy shit they don't need. And in fact, the reason the request for this video, one of the reasons it confused me or caught me off guard rather, is I made one of these stupid, useless purchases just a few days ago. Now, it wasn't a ton of money, and I got a good deal on it, but I didn't need this thing. I did it because I wanted to feel like I was able to spend money on something. And I found a few ways to mitigate that urge. Firstly, get really into, obsessed with affordable shit, and get really into hunting deals. I don't know why people have this, or why there's this stigma against trying to get nice shit for cheap, but it lets you get nice shit for cheap. So what's the issue here? Next thing, buy yourself something frivolous with each paycheck, but make sure it's something small. But, oh shit, Dale Cooper. What is it? Give yourself one gift every day? That kind of concept. Get yourself shit. And as long as you're doing it consistently and not spending a ton of money on these things, then you're less hungry, starved for these huge, useless purchases. And then, because that's still not enough, set aside some money, or not budget over time for something larger and useless. My example, I bought an Italian bayonet for around 100 or a little over $100. Smoking deal for the quality and the condition. I'm very happy with it. And I bought myself M, Son of the Century, a book about Mussolini written by a socialist, so I can comfort myself by holding my Italian bayonet and listen to a fucking Marxist shit all over my beloved Mussolini. That's my most recent big purchase, and in total it came to around $170. Ultimately useless, especially the knife. I mean, what am I gonna do with this thing? We're not having gang wars with the Reds. But do you know what I didn't buy and I've been wanting to for almost a year now? A Smith & Wesson Model 10 revolver. Some detective shit, some paranormal investigator shit. A gun that's between $700 and $900 depending on what you're looking for, the sort you're looking for, that is going to be completely useless to me because it would be, I mean, okay, guns are never a terrible investment. You can always get your money back on them. But I already have a gun that I carry and I trust my life with. I want to spend $700 so I can make my trench coat and hat cosplay look just that much more embarrassing and shameful. A smaller, but still substantial, dumb purchase and Mussolini helped or saved me from making that grievous error. Number four, become a contrarian for financial reasons. In your effort to feel unique and cool, you won't get into costly trends. Almost everyone I've met in the last few years has lost money on crypto. I never got into it because I wanted to feel smug for not doing something everybody's doing. And in that persnicketyness, I ended up saving money. Now, I wasn't doing it to save money, but in the effort to be a dickhead, I did save money. Number five, because a substantial portion of our audience is fucking teenagers, go to a community college. If you're going to college. Trade school is good, yes. The piece of paper does actually matter. That's my one issue with this whole don't go to college thing is, yes, the piece of paper does matter, but you can get it cheap, and going to college in a smart way gives you some opportunities or a leg up people going to trade schools or people not going to college at all wouldn't have. A few examples. One, let's say with whatever college or university, once you get up to that level, you get your tuition paid for by your school. That's your school scholarship. You can still take out government loans, and while I'm usually against loans and debt, and student loans are terrifying, they're the one thing you bankruptcy won't save you from. If you have all of your other shit paid for, your student loans can serve as a big chunk of money to help you get established. And I'm aggravated with myself because I was in the situation to take advantage of this in this way, and I didn't because I didn't know shit at the time. You can use that money to get yourself set up a little bit better in the world instead of pissing it away like I did. Buy a car, figure out your living situation, both in terms of a place to live and with this buffer, that's the word I was looking for. Figure out the things you'll need to exist once you need to start earning money for real. And I got my master's, and all I'm in for in the student debt game, student loans game, is a little over $30,000. There are people who end up with their bachelor's with a couple $100,000. There's a way you can do this and get your education and get yourself established with a small amount of loan debt. And don't do what I did, which was get right there close to doing everything right and then fucking it up because you're stupid. The other thing you can do while you're doing this, aside from just working a part-time job, which, depending on how seriously you want to take your studies, everyone says you should be working. I don't necessarily agree. In my experience, you can use these smaller scholarships you can put in for, these essay type scholarships. Write about forklifts. That's one of the ones I wrote. Write about forklift safety. I don't give a fuck about forklift safety. You can use these scholarships to pay on your loans before you graduate, and then the interest starts kicking in. Now, my interest isn't kicking my ass, but it's annoying because I'm never going to pay it off at the rate I'm paying right now. However, because it's the way this loan works, you don't have to pay a lot every month. So if you used that money wisely to get yourself set up, and you paid on it with these smaller scholarships, you'd be in a really great position, and you probably could pay off your loan with these smaller payments. I didn't do that. If that's the route you want to go, do it smart. Point 6, macaroni and cheese, green beans, and some kind of sausage is a cheap meal you can make quickly and easy every day, period, every day, period. Now, that is advice, but the piece of advice it connects to a little bit more is, I think, rationing. In typological terms, this might be easier for SI types, but if you can find a food you don't hate eating every day or every other day that you can make on the cheap, you're in a really good position to save money. All the better when you get yourself so hopelessly addicted to this save money slop, you're hurting without it. You're addicted to the food grind. If it's a day you haven't clogged your asshole in the name of not going broke, it's a bad day. At peak Skimmerlit, taxes included, I could make a huge a pot, of this shit mac and cheese, green bean, something or other sausage mixture for $6 a day. Wild. And have leftovers. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, number 7, get really into gaming. The value per hour is great, and it'll keep you from going out with your dipshit friends and wasting money and getting into trouble. Now, this is kind of a double point. Yes, getting addicted to a Skinner box type game without microtransactions will keep you on track for little to no money in the long term. In fact, Stalker Anomaly, that is free, and that's a Skinner box ass game once you set up the settings correctly. You can hop on there every day and have fun. Or you could spend 20 to 60 bucks on a game and have fun for however many months. The cost to enter is low, and once you're nice and addicted, it will keep your attention so you don't want much of anything else. Now, the second part of this is don't have friends. The great thing about video games is they're in your home, you're sober, or, I mean, you might not be sober, but these things aren't going to get you high, and you can turn them off when you're done with them. Friends, you can't say any of that about friends. Everyone is an alcoholic these days, or worse. All of them will always want you to go drinking. That's expensive. Now you're in a bar, people are stupid, dudes want to fight. Then that becomes, if you didn't get into a fight and get arrested or something, that turns into drinking and driving. And then you're all fucked up. You aren't in control. You aren't at the wheel. It's a disgrace. It's a huge waste of money. It's a danger. And all this shit comes from your dumb fucking friends. Don't have friends. Also, they're going to bug you and want your time and feel hurt and all this other dumb shit. And it's going to occupy or cloud this space in your mind that you need to be clear so you can focus on eating your mac and cheese and playing your video games and going to your job. That's no way to live. Sure, this is no world or society to live in. This is not a living world. This is a winning or a losing world, and if you want to win, you can't throw away everything pretending this is a living world. Now, the next piece of advice for saving money and avoiding financial self-sabotage is start smoking. But don't smoke cigarettes, don't smoke cigars, don't even vape, smoke a pipe. Now, I think this is an ingenious saving method because you're paying to, again, feel compelled to save money where you can. Because every time you go to buy pipe tobacco, it's going to annoy you that it costs money, that you're spending money on this thing. So you're inclined to save money so you can afford your vice. Not the issue, the benefit is pipe tobacco, at least the over-the-counter blends, are really not expensive. So you're saving all this additional money to support this terrible addiction, except you aren't actually spending very much money. It's this little self-drama that drives you to save more money, and you get to enjoy all the pleasures of smoking. And you might say, well, vaping is cheap also, but in my experience with vaping, the reason I don't vape anymore is, yes, while it looks like the money is cheaper, you're also vaping all the time, and it gets you hooked to the point you can't go 30 minutes without vaping. Not only is that an intrusive feeling, an intrusive urge, but also those lower prices stop mattering when you're doing it that much. The beauty of pipes is not just that the pipe tobacco is so cheap, it's that I can smoke one bowl a day and be okay. Now, I don't smoke one bowl a day, but I have. Sometimes I do. I don't know what it is about the nicotine. It's present in your life. It's always there. You notice when you try to stop, or if you do try to stop. But you can go a surprisingly long amount of time without smoking your pipe before you start noticing it, which is good because it's less intrusive than vaping is, and also it's a good way to save money. you're spending even less money on your vice. And it's always good to have a vice. You need something guilty to nurture. Number 9 is drink black coffee that you brew, or better yet, you get from your job. This sounds like hack advice, but buying canned coffee or lattes or whatever from coffee shops, and energy drinks too, people say cutting back on that is a quick, easy way to save money, and that sounds hack, but it's true. You will save a lot of money not buying those things when you don't need them. Now, number 10, avoid debt but use credit cards occasionally to build your credit. That's another piece of hack advice, but. And I know there are strats to get your credit score a lot higher. Last I checked, my credit is at 720, and aside from the student loans thing and some other stuff, I'm perpetually paying on around $100 of credit card debt. Always make the payments, sometimes pay a little more. It seems to help. I don't know if it actually does. My credit for my age is in a relatively good spot, all things considered, and I think that has something to do with it. Number 11, hide $20 bills everywhere. I keep an additional 20 hidden in my wallet to the point I forget about it until I need it. I keep $20 in my car. I keep $20 at my job. I keep $20 with my ammunition. I got 20s everywhere. You never know when you'll need a 20, and all of your other options for money are exhausted. Number 12, we kind of talked about this earlier, but this is a little more specific. If clothing is important to you, and it should be, because it makes a difference, you don't need designer or custom to look the way you want to look. You also don't need to look exactly the way you want to look. Shitty Amazon polyester vests and suits will serve you perfectly fine. Will make you look the way you need to look if you're trying to succeed in a professional environment. Yes, it would be great if you had that custom made to measure thing, but for you right now, you don't need it, and buying it would set you back. I will say, get your shirts. It's not as bad to spend a little more money to get shirts you don't hate. Vest that's not the best, or a jacket that's not the best, fine. Shirts are a little more important, but even then you don't need to spend a lot of money to get something comfortable. I like linen. You can also, again, hack. Thrift shopping, not a bad way to go. You'd be surprised the stuff you can find in thrift shops. I got... What is it, Fat Nick? I got a trench coat that is a businessy type trench coat. Looks really good. Doesn't totally look douchey because I wear it enough. And I've developed enough of an aura to wear it properly as long as I don't think about it. Like that Douglas Adams shit. I spent like $30 on it, and that's a $400 trench coat. Smoking deal. So happy. Paranormal investigative shit. And then number 14, yeah, I think we rolled in part of this with number 3, same with 13. But if you want to buy some shit to make money with, know that in most cases, knowing someone good at business or good with money will help you earn money faster than literally anything you buy or try ever will. Sometimes I buy shit thinking, or want to buy shit. Thankfully, I haven't gone off the deep end. I think the last thing I bought was that dumb fucking button maker last year for $50. Not a crazy amount of money, but sometimes you feel compelled to try to drop $2,500 on some shit that you think you're going to start your own business with. Right. Well, actually, no, I used my janitorial stuff. I didn't use all of it. I didn't need to spend $400 on it like I did when I first started. This was 2 years ago. In almost every situation, if you want to earn more money, there are ways you can do it without investing anything. And if you want to make a lot of money, your best bet is going to be befriending someone who understands money really well. And that goes with anything. If there's something you want to do, Don't think you're going to drop a bunch of money and then do it. You are much better off finding someone who already understands that thing and then learning from them. And that's not that bad as long as you are someone who can bring something valuable to the table in exchange. It's almost never, nothing is ever about the shit you have or can afford. It is always about who knows what. 15, which is supposed to be the closer, but it won't be. We have some other stuff to talk about. Accept your saving will happen very, very slowly. No matter how careful you are, something or someone will take your money from you. This is life. This is also the reason that hidden savings account is so important. Saving money to afford shit is really difficult, and it seems like it gets more difficult the harder you're trying to do it. So, as with all things, I think your goal should not be to buckle down and put your all into it all at once, but rather to find a frequency, a routine that is comfortable to you that you can stick with and do that. I can't afford a huge emergency, which is why my New Year's situation was fucky wucky. But I can afford $1,000 emergency, which I couldn't say a while ago. Actually, I think I can afford a $2,000 emergency, $3,000 emergency, really. And if I sold some shit, I could get up to 4,000, price to go. But slow, slow and steady. Find the thing, the process that works for you, and stick to it. Now, the last point I was thinking about putting in, and then I was thinking about dropping, because it's kind of a joke, but it also isn't. Porn is a good income stream, and there are ways to do it that will maximize your profitability without sacrificing your dignity if that's something you care about. And this is more for the women in the viewership, because there's a niche here that is close to being harnessed, but is not being harnessed in the way I see it can be. It's a niche I'm planning on trying to harness here soon, but I have my reservations that I need to get over because I'm a dude, and I know forcing my way into this niche is going to be uniquely uncomfortable. However, there are some dudes who are doing this already, and that's giving me a little bit of heart. There are, well, three components to this. Firstly, fetish communities tend to be, well, aside from furries and standard, just disgusting leather BDSM shit, fucking heebie-jeebie shit, most other fetish communities tend to be a few cuts above that horrific shit. The second part is these other communities tend to be willing to pay for two things. One, for someone with an understanding of what they're looking for. There are tons of people who are marketing at fetish communities, but they don't understand them, and the responses are as cold as you would expect them to be, and as they should be. People are willing to pay for a voice that understands the way these interests work. The second part of that is because fetish communities tend, or I won't say all, but most fetish communities tend to be male catering. People will pay high dollar for a woman with this, both this creative voice and this understanding, just because she's a woman doing it. And there are already examples of this, but usually there is a man somewhere lurking in the shadows guiding this woman, which is understandable, but it's also a bit of a buzzkill, and it's also why the soul woman operations tend to be supported extravagantly by the communities, the markets they are serving. And then the third part of this is depending on what you're doing and the community you're working with, you don't have to put yourself out there. You can use your or an identity, but you don't need to be in the picture. I'm reminded of Salia Cole. You can be a writer, you can be a programmer, you can be an artist. You don't need your ass to be on camera. And in fact, you don't even need to be a woman to do this if you're doing it that way, which is one of my hang-ups. I'm getting more and more comfortable with lying, but that is a sort of lying I am not comfortable with yet. But again, even within my interest communities, there are now dudes doing this in exactly the ways I'm describing and are beginning to take off. And I wouldn't usually put this in a finance video, and I also wouldn't talk about it this seriously, but I see the ways the stars, the star players, get, at least in my communities, get put up on pedestals and supported like some fucking, what is it, Borgias? The patrons? These court cumbenders who earn really good money by catering to these communities, and that becomes their career. These crowd-funded artistes who never even put themselves on camera. The right person, the right skills, in the right community. There's a lot of money to be made there with not a lot lost. So in essence, if you want to avoid financial self-sabotage, smoke, do porn, buy shit you don't need, eat the exact same foods every day, isolate, don't have any friends, play way too many video games, steal information you didn't earn from people who did earn it, and go really deep into student loan debt. Do all these things, and you too can become a high net worth individual. You can look out across the world with the eyes of corporate insight. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.